So you want to be a cop, but maybe you don't know everything that goes into it. Hopefully this video will help. So you want to be a cop. Do you have it in you? Are you willing to put in the work? Can you handle it? Are you ready?
21,541 names will be on the National Memorial, including the 360 new additions that are to be officially added this evening. Freedom isn't free.
So this video is in response to a lot of those questions from you guys about my career and my career path and how I got to where I am, but also, more importantly, what you can do to become a police officer. Now, the first thing that I should say is there's no same path. Not everybody takes the same direction to this job. I see a lot of comments out there that you need to have this training, you need to have this degree, you need to major in this, you need to have this work experience. Basically, if you want to be a police officer and you put your mind to it, you can do it. There are two things, however, that you absolutely will need before anyone will hire you. You have to be honest, and you got to be willing to work. So this first part I'm going to get out of the way. I've been writing down some comments you guys have had or some emails you've sent me about my career and kind of where I'm at and how I got there. I'm going to try to make that as quick as possible because it's not all that exciting. And then I'm going to move into some tips and things to expect on your path to becoming a police officer. So the first question comes from Brian 17_-81. He asked, how did you get to where you are? What things did you study before you became a police officer? So the first part of that question is a little difficult to answer because that's 14 years, basically, actually beyond 14 years of how did I get where I'm at. But the second part's fairly easy. I studied criminology and accounting in college. I graduated high school and immediately went into college. I actually played sports. I played football in high school and college, so that was my focus at first. I thought I was going to be an NFL star. For some reason that didn't work out. I wonder why. But that was my focus. I was just a regular kid going from high school to college thinking I was going to be some superstar. When I got into college, I actually studied computer science and accounting, and I thought those two things were kind of fascinating, how they work together. But I soon became bored of that about 2 years into college, switched my major over to criminology, technically pre-law, although there's nothing really pre-law about it, and then graduated with a bachelor's in criminology. After that, went into business. I became a buyer at a medical facility, just bought a lot of cardiothoracic surgery equipment, drug-eluting stents, those boring type of supplies, and thought, what am I doing? I'm not really getting any value in this, and just started applying to police departments. Long story short, put my application in here. Also put my application in at another PD, got hired at the same time, kind of went through the process at the same time, and ultimately chose where I'm working at now. So that's how I got here. Okay, so fascinating. Maxine Devil writes, do you think college helped you in your police career? Maxine, not really. And I'm going to take a lot of grief from agencies on this, but I just don't think college itself, the bachelor's degree, really has anything to do with my job as a law enforcement officer. The best officers I have worked with, and not some of the best officers I have worked with have no college experience. This job is so much more about being able to relate to people and talk to people and be real with people more than it is that academia side. So if there are things that I learned from going to college, yes. Responsibility, working while you're in school, athletics, meeting all different types of people, becoming friends with them, just learning that there are different people out there in the world. I think all of that helped. But the things I learned in class, even the criminology stuff, it just doesn't apply to the real world. Now, I'm not telling any of you to go out there and not go to college. Agencies nowadays definitely feel like that college degree is something that will kind of put you above other applicants. While I disagree with that from an experience level, you can't ignore that that's on their requirements, or at least something that they deem as a benefit. So why not benefit yourself? What I will say about school, and definitely take this advice, I'm going to take some hits for this. Don't go into criminology. Don't go into criminal justice. Stay away from the law enforcement fields. I don't say that because it's not good education, or that the instructors aren't good, or that the instructors themselves don't come from our profession. I say that because what are you really getting out of that? If you rise up in a law enforcement career and you have that bachelor's degree, you're going to get administrative experience anyway. You are going to get dealing with people experience anyway. You are going to get management experience anyway. So I'm not aware of too many jobs out there, other than being a criminology instructor, that having a criminology degree are well suited for. Even the ones that teach investigations, if that's your goal, become a detective when you go to your department. So with all that being said, yes, I'd strongly urge you to go to college. I'd strongly urge you to go get a degree, but get it in accounting, get it in business management, get it in a field that you can use outside of this career. That doesn't mean you're going to jump from this career and go do that, but you just be able to use those tools and skills to a much more efficient degree than you would criminology. All right, Frederick on fire. Is that really your name? Frederick on fire? 13, whatever 13 means. He asks, what type of workout should I do to prepare for the academy? I laughed at that because that's just not because it's a dumb question. It's certainly not a dumb question. You're going to work your butt off in the academy, but it's just, I hear that so much. So here's what I say. If you're going to an academy, start right now, start today. Push-ups, sit-ups, if you can do them, pull-ups, and run. Run every distance. Run sprints, run long distance, just run. Run your butt off. Mix it up. You will run a lot. All right, so like I said at the very beginning, the very first thing that you're going to need, the very first two things that you're going to need are trustworthiness and a willingness to work. And I say that because this job is so much about your word and your work product. So not only as an officer do you need those two things, but as you're applying, you're going to go through polygraphs, you're going to go through a background check. You need to be honest all the way through that. And you need to be willing to hang around, because if you don't get that job you want right off the rip, if it's not the first place you applied, you got to be willing to hang in there and keep applying, or just hang in the process till they're ready to call your name. But for the actual process, almost all police departments are the same. You're going to apply. You are going to get that application from them, whether it be online or paper. You're going to fill it out, give as much info as you can, send it back in, and they're likely going to tell you about a test date. Now this test, where I'm from and what most agencies do here in my locality, is called a civil service test. It's just a general examination. A lot of people ask, do you need to study for it or do you not? It just depends what type of test taker you are. I wouldn't say there's any expert information on there. There's no real hidden information. To me, it was kind of all common sense information. But if you need to brush up on that stuff, common sense would tell you to go find some books about civil service tests and read about what type of information they put on there. Just to give you kind of a brief analysis of what's on there, it's general math, general logic, reading comprehension, and some logistical things about how to get from point A to point B logically. Most of the time you are ranked off of that test. So sometimes that test will be written, and then you'll have an oral board where you'll talk to people and they'll either combine the score. Sometimes it's just the written portion and they grade that score and then you're ranked. But regardless, after that, you are ranked. Police departments will look at different bands or different groupings of rankings and say 1 through 100, we're going to go and we're going to send our background guys out to these 100 people. Or 1 through 50, 1 through 10, 1 through 25. Depending on the size of the department that's hiring you, they could have different size groupings for different agencies. But your goal is to test high enough to get into one of those first few groupings. Once the test is done, once it's over, you know where your ranking is and they call you or they send you a mailer. They're probably going to move on to what's called like a personal history questionnaire. And that is what will have all the information and all the questions about your background and what they're going to ask you on the polygraph. So did you do drugs? Did you steal? Have you ever committed a crime? Have you ever done this to females? Have you ever done this to males? Just all these types of questions that your background investigator is going to want to find out about you. The best advice I can give there is don't ask for advice on how to answer the questions. Just answer them truthfully. One thing you have to know, there is nothing short of being an axe murderer that you are going to tell that polygraph examiner that he or she hasn't heard already. So just tell the truth. Everyone goes in there, whether they've been a saint or whether they've been a near criminal, everyone goes in there and feels when they come out like they've just confessed all their sins, because you kind of have. But there's nothing you're going to surprise that examiner with, trust me. The agency then decides whether you are a good candidate based on whether you are honest or dishonest. Now, a little tip, they're probably not going to spend money on you to go take a polygraph exam or to bring you in and waste their polygraph examiner's time if they didn't already think what you put down on the background packet was feasible for their department. So for example, if you've done marijuana, say 25 times in your life, they're probably not going to send you to that polygraph examiner if that is a disqualifier for them. I'm not saying that across the board, but just usually, financially speaking, they're not going to pay for that polygraph or waste that polygraph examiner's time at their agency if they already know you're disqualified based on what you put on your history questionnaire. So it goes back to my point. Be honest. Just be honest throughout the process. Okay, so after the polygraph portion or some version of that, usually it's done at the same time, but again, department to department, you go through your background, you're assigned a background investigator, and in my case, they went and talked to ex-coaches, they went and talked to my parents, they went and talked to friends, they talked to friends that I hadn't talked to in a while, they went to old apartments, old places I lived, they talked to quite a few people that I didn't expect them to talk to. So, large agency or small agency, it's going to change, but just be prepared for that they're probably going to dig into a little bit of your personal life that you weren't expecting. The main goal of background investigators and that polygraph portion isn't to go find out things about you. I mean, those are things that indirectly happen from time to time, but the main goal is to just vet what you've told them about you. A lot of people also write in and ask questions, you know, if I did this, can I still be a cop? That is going to have to go to your agency. I've seen agencies disqualify people all the way from you've done one drug and tried one drug in your entire life, and just because you tried a drug, you're gone, you're off their list, all the way to an agency saying you could have done drugs all the way up to a year before the application and you're okay. So somehow in that year you were cured of any drug usage you may have had the rest of your life. I don't quite understand it, but there is that diversity. Then once you're done with your polygraph, you kind of move into the very expensive things for agencies, which would be like a stress test or some type of cardio session where they're actually calling a bunch of officers out there to rate you, because that is time and money for that agency. And once you pass those, they just want to assess, can you make it into their academy or can you make it into at least another academy? Some agencies that are smaller in size require that you're certified already. That's perfectly okay, but they still will probably put you through that PT portion. Again, I won't go into what you need to do for PT because every agency is different, but almost 100% of agencies will require some form of push-ups, sit-ups, and running of all types. So reach out to the agency you're interested in and see what their measurements are. After that, what you get is normally a conditional offer of employment, and basically that means you've completed all of our tasks. We think you're a good candidate. We're probably going to hire you. Sometimes it's a contingent offer based upon whether or not you even pass their academy. Now, choosing your PD, I hear this a ton. Guys, this is really what it comes down to. All that other stuff anybody can do, but if you want to do traffic enforcement and that's all you're interested in, don't shut out city or municipal police departments, because I could tell you people get burnt out of that quickly, and maybe that's not something you want to do your whole career. So really dig deep and think about what it is you want to do eventually in your career, because if you want to do investigations, a highway patrol unit might not be for you. Yeah, they have investigative arms and whatnot, but it's limited. It's not as open as, say, municipal police departments that get homicides all the way down to thefts. So really think about what it is you want to do. Swinging this back to questions that some of you guys have given me, when I applied, I knew at some point that I want to go into different specialized units. So I knew at some point I'd want to work narcotics. I knew at some point I'd want to do investigations. Right out of the gate, I knew I wanted to do patrol work, which obviously much of that patrol work or proactive work is created out of traffic stops or Terry stops or going to areas of high crime and seeing what's going on there. So all of that developed over my career. So I knew I needed to be at an agency at least big enough to facilitate some of those goals. One thing that I will discourage you on, don't rate police departments by pay. You know, later in your career when you're done and you know you just kind of want low responsibility and low drag on the job and you want that money for retirement, I suppose it makes sense to go to the more wealthy departments and wealthier municipalities, but don't pick that right out of the gate, because I can tell you for a fact that there are agencies in my area that pay very well, but job satisfaction is really far down because they are told to go out and do things that aren't really what people got into law enforcement for. And really, they're not even that great for the community, although they look good on paper. So that is why I put so much emphasis on to choose the right place. Choose the place that you think's going to fit you the best. All right, so you've chosen the right place, you've applied to the right place, they accepted you, you made it through the personal history questionnaire in the background, and now you're going to the academy. One common thing in every academy since the beginning of time, don't stand out. And I say that because it's great to be positive and it's great to be a performer and a leader, and I wouldn't discourage you from doing that. Just realize getting picked on and getting recognized kind of in a negative way is going to happen to you if you are that person that's standing out. I hate to say don't stand out because you could be doing a really good job, but you definitely don't want to stand out in a negative way. Don't complain. Don't be the last one. You just don't want to give those instructors anything to get their hooks in, because then your time is going to be a lot more difficult than everyone else's. So the academy, it's hard for me to give advice on. The best thing that I can say is just be prepared. Don't go into that lazy. So if you get hired and then there's some time there before you head into that academy, make sure you're training before that. You don't want to show up and be out of shape or show up and not be able to make the standards. So throughout this whole process, your agency wants to see that you're motivated and you really want this job. So don't slack off on the PT part just because you passed it at your agency. Because one thing that will stick with you is that academy usually gets back to your agency. Or if the academy is at your agency, it's even worse. But that academy will report to the division and to the patrol section that you're going to as a rookie, and they're going to let them know what type of candidate you are. That absolutely happened. Then when you get out of the academy, you can pretty much toss your bachelor's degree away, you can pretty much toss the academy certificate away, and then you'll actually start learning how to be a cop. So that was the goal of this video. I know there's probably going to be more questions there. Definitely leave them in the comments, shoot me an email, whatever you want to do. Again, I try to get back to as many of those as I can. So hopefully that answered a lot there. If you have additional, just let me know in the comments. And obviously I could not cover everything. There is a ton that goes into this, so I am sure there will be some follow-up there. I am still working on the process of getting my body cam approved so I can do a body cam video, so look forward to that. And as always, I'll have some product reviews coming up too. I just wanted to take a break from that for a little bit. That B-roll takes a ton of work to edit, so I just want to take a little bit of a break and take the time to kind of answer your questions in the meantime. Everybody have a good week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.